Okay, here we go. Good evening. It is Friday night in Norway. It is, what date is it? It is 27th of September. And I wanted to make this video because there are something that is really pissing me off. And it's the thing that the left is doing now, calling everybody a Nazi. And originally being a person of the left, it is kind of sad to see that the left that used to be the protectors of free speech, human rights, honesty, truth, and used to have a genuine fight that was really important to fight against religion, against fascism, against Nazism, has now turned into what should we call it? It turned into something else. It's turned into some whining crybaby snowflakes who can't take any discussion, who can't take dissent, who can't take any argument against their predispositioned political views. And the number one way to suppress dissent today is calling people racist or a Nazi or worse. And the left seem also now to start eating themselves, which is of course something they have done through all of history. When you don't have any more opponents to take, you start eating your own, because there's also dissent among the left. I used to be a person of the left. I used to say stupid things like the Jews are Nazis because of the Palestine conflict. Then I had long discussions also with my father, and he and others argued so much with me that I took the honest approach and started to study, and I realized that I was wrong, so I changed my mind and I started to support Israel. Not in everything, but in most things. I've been called a Jew-loving Nazi in the same sentence by people of the left. And it's just hilarious that they don't see that, hey, there's something wrong with this picture, but I don't. It's just blind. The reason why I now have a big chunk of coffee and want to talk about this is, like 2 weeks ago I had this big party in my studio. A very nice friend of mine, a girl, had 2 friends with her. Both of them were nice. But as the evening progressed, one of them got really drunk, and she asked me and others, because we was a little, kind of not that many left, but we were sitting discussing things, and she asked me because there was an election in Norway just now, and they asked me what I voted for, and I said I didn't vote because I don't care about Norwegian politics. It just goes around and around and around and around, and nothing really happens. It's just the same bullshit. I think it's too many parties in Norway, to be honest. I think we should use more science to get to solutions, and the politics should be more focused on solving problems than parties and then party politics and stuff like that. But that's another video or discussion, so we can do that another time. Anyway, and then she started to, of course, tell me that I hadn't used my vote, and I gave it away for free and blah blah blah. And I had to explain to this woman again that it was my democratic choice, my free speech and my free will. I thought through that I'm not gonna vote this time. And then she asked me what I would vote for if I voted. And I said, well, I would not vote for the left-wing parties because of this snowflake, whining, socialist bullshit that I'm done with. And I can't possibly vote for the Farmers' Party, or Venstre as it's called in Norway, because a little bit too nationalist for me, though I do agree with some of their policies, but it's kind of a difficult, it's hard to actually figure out whatever the fuck they mean. Anyway, and I would not vote for Arbeiderpartiet because they are also become just they also call everybody Nazis and racist. The leader, I don't like the leader at all, and so I couldn't vote for them. I used to actually vote for Arbeiderpartiet, but I don't anymore. And SV is just out of the question. That is Socialist Party. And you have the Communist, which is probably would lead to another gulag. All of them would lead to another gulag. I'm pretty sure about that. So no fucking way. So it would be the right party or Høyre or FRP, left, for me to vote for. I also think the Green Party is just crazy. So they go way too far. So I can vote for them. And I said I would vote for the right party or Høyre or FRP, the future party in Norway, which is more right-leaning. It's kind of a... But they too are too nationalistic for me, but I do agree with some of the politics on immigration and taxes and social security and stuff like that, which I do agree with them. But I disagree with them and I agree with them, and I can't really, and the right Høyre party is even too relativistic for me. I just can't find a party to vote for. So I voted for myself, okay? But when I told this woman that I was willing to vote for Høyre or FRP, she called me a Nazi. Her first reaction to me saying that I would vote for that party was to call me a Nazi. And I say, what? Why? And she started to babble something about immigration and racism and blah blah blah. And I said, my point about this immigration thing, that I want to help people. I really want to help people because I'm a humanist. I see every child in the world as just as important as a child in Norway or whatever. But you can't possibly in any way solve the refugee problems or poverty in the world by moving people. You can't do that. That's another video, but it's not possible. It just doesn't add up. And you also have to remember this, that we are using dirty oil money to finance this. So what we should do, we should use the countries that are nearby where there are catastrophes or wars or whatever, and we should use the UN, Doctors Without Borders, Red Cross, Red Crescent, and all these to build good refugee camps and use the human resources that comes there. There are probably doctors, building workers, and all kinds of people who have resources. You can pay them to work in these camps and you can build it back up again. You can give children school and healthcare and everything instead of moving a few people to Europe. So I mean, we should just send them back and help them where they are. That is my point with this. It is simply an argument from a resource point of view. I do not, 36,000, up to 36,000 children die every day because of poverty and starvation or lack of health care. And that is just the children. You can think about how many women die in birth or by diseases, or it's just mind-blowing, okay? So if you want to talk about this one child in a boat, or I don't want to listen to it. I don't focus my help on single people. And so shouldn't Doctors Without Borders, Red Cross, UN. We should not use single destinies of fate. We shouldn't focus on one child and say, oh, it's so horrible, we have to help these. Or if people say, like I do, we should help the many, not the one, we call them Nazis and racists. I don't really care what color people have. I really do not care. I don't even care if they have a different culture. As long as they don't want to cut my head off, I'm fine with them. You can believe whatever you want from me. I will even be your friend. If you're a nice person, I can befriend anyone, any person, which is a kind person. Of course, there are people who would have problems with me because I'm an atheist. I'm an anti-theist, like Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, and Ayanashi Ali, and all these people who are actually against superstition and religion, like Richard Dawkins and these people. But I wouldn't judge a person from his beliefs. I would judge him from his deeds, how honest he is, if he actually means what he's saying, and stuff like that. So that's also why I have actually now I have some good friends who are fundamentalist Christians. And I noticed when I started to doubt the left's policies, it started actually with the first Iran-Iraq war, where I started to change my mind that maybe it was a good idea to remove Saddam Hussein and stuff like that, and I still mean it was, despite it went to hell. That's also a different video. And I started to doubt this Israel thing, and I started to doubt the leftist policies, and I started to doubt all this. And I just saw how I started to lose my left-wing friends. And the atheists that I used to befriend on Facebook or other places has shown to be petty arseholes. Basically, most of them are petty arseholes, which can't take dissent. And it's quite disappointing. That is why I would like every atheist to listen more to people like the late Christopher Hitchens, which is one of my great heroes, and try to understand that you have to be honest and willing to test your beliefs, even when it comes to environmental policies and all these things. You should actually doubt everything, and because it could be wrong. I was wrong. I was probably wrong now about many things. So what I usually say now is that I didn't leave the left left me. The left left the building. There's not, you can see it in the United States with this crazy leftist. The Democratic Party in America now is just burning to the ground because of these leftist crazies like this Ocasio-Cortez girl and this mad leftist that also call everybody racists and Nazis. A few years ago I had a friend, a girl, her father is from Iran, and she was also an atheist. and she wanted me to look into her, look at her, what she was writing, give critique, and she wanted me to paint her and all that. And we had a discussion about Islam and what's actually in Islam, what Muhammad actually said. And we had a discussion about Israel and immigration, and suddenly, out of the blue, she also called me a Nazi. And a while ago, she actually managed to, in the middle of the night, in the middle of Oslo, her name is Amina actually, in the middle of the night, she was standing there on 7-Eleven, screaming out, "He's a Nazi, he's a Nazi." And it's like, this girl knows I'm an atheist. She knows I'm not even a nationalist. She knows I hate religion. And I do actually hate religion because it's superstition and it makes people believe in ridiculous things that makes them take ridiculous, really ridiculous choices in their lives, in their beliefs and stuff. It doesn't mean that they are bad people. They are kind people, many of them, as I said. And she called me a Nazi. And I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? First of all, I'm a fighter. I don't back down from a fight, okay? If someone picked that up on 7-Eleven and started attacking me, I would have been forced to take this fucker down or get hurt because of this bitch, to be honest, screams out Nazi in the middle of the night. So she put me and other people in danger. And for what? So, this video is called When to Call People a Nazi. And here's when you should call people a Nazi. You should not call people a Nazi if they disagree with you. You should not call people a Nazi if they say they doubt that the immigration politics is actually a good idea. You should listen to them. You should not call people a Nazi even if they are nationalist and want to keep their culture clean. That is nationalism. It's not even racism yet. What is, you can call a person a racist when he says, I don't want my daughter to marry this person because he has a different skin color than me. That is when you call people a racist, okay? That's racism. That is racism. A person who say that is an idiot and it's racism. If a Muslim or an Orthodox Jew or a Christian say, I don't want my child to marry someone from another faith, it is not racism. It is stupid, but it's probably what the religion tells him to do. So what do you got? So where are you? You're going to criticize religion now? Okay, yeah, I criticize religion. I criticize circumcision because you shouldn't be allowed to burn your children into a cult. I think circumcision, if Jews or Muslims do it, I think it's the same thing as taking hot iron and putting it into the ass of an animal to mark which farm it belongs to, okay? It is wrong. Children should be free to choose their own culture when they grow up. So stop branding children, okay? That's very important to me. Anyway, that is also not racism. Racism is only if you hate people or you dislike people or you look down on people because they have a different skin color. Oh, I don't want my daughter to marry this black guy because he has brown eyes and the wrong skin color. That is racism, okay? Okay. He's still not a Nazi. Just as you know, he's still not a Nazi. But here is when you can call people a Nazi. And that is when they say, I believe the Aryan race is better than all other races. And I think the Jews are Untermensch and should be killed off. Or every other race that isn't Aryan should be killed off. And I support everything Hitler did. That is when you should actually call people a Nazi. And that is the only time you should call people a Nazi. And if somebody told me that, do you know what I would do? I would sit down and I would say, wow, that's interesting. Do you want to tell me more? Tell me why you think these things. Let's have a conversation about these things. Enlighten me. Tell me why you think these things. Because, do you know why I would do that? Because then I can actually argue with the person. Because he is also a person. And if he came to that, there is some reason in his childhood or some ignorance or some psychological or upbringings reason that he came to this conclusion. And I know that people can change. And everybody should be allowed the chance to change their mind. That is so important, that you allow people to speak. And you can argue with them with argument, not with say, oh, you're a Nazi, I fucking hate you, I fucking hate you. Well, I hate Nazism, of course I do. Because it's wrong and it's dangerous. The only time I would be violent with another person is if the Nazi attacks me. Then all bets are off. Then I stand or he stands after the fight. And yeah, the strongest will win, okay? So that is the only time I will actually be violent or start name calling or stuff like that. And I really would like to have a situation where we go back to real discussions about real things, that we stop this nauseating, actually. I'm nauseated by this now. This, oh, you're a racist and you're a Nazi. I even had a couple of patrons. One girl, she's a physician. She actually won one of my paintings. And she managed to drop the patron, which is okay. Anyone can do that when they want to. No hard feelings about that. But then she told me she loved my paintings, but she didn't like my politics, so she didn't want to support me on Patreon. And I asked her, so what part do you disagree with? And she said she didn't want to have a discussion. So she now disagrees with my politics. I don't even know what my politics are, because it's kind of a fluctuating thing. If I get new information, I just change my mind. And I try to evolve my thinking as I go along, as I take in new information. And if she had some misconception of what my opinions were, maybe she just didn't like my opinions and understood my opinions and didn't like them. But then she could have told me. And she could have told me where I was wrong. That is what I would have done. I would have had a discussion about it. And then maybe, I could have learned something. Wouldn't that be nice? Maybe she could have learned something about me and the reasons why I have the opinions that I do have. But no, we can't do that, can we? No, we have to call people racists. She didn't do that, by the way. That's a good thing. And her friend, which also won a painting, it's funny really, she was also a patron, she suddenly blocked me on one of my Facebook pages because she disagreed. I posted something about supporting Israel, and she started to talk about I should live by the Palestinians for a while and blah blah blah, and I was so wrong. Well, I have a good reason why I support Israel, and it's based in facts and history. So it's not that I actually support also Palestinian state, just to put this right. And the day the jihadists and the Islamists stop bombing Israel and actually show that they want to negotiate, that problem will be over, because it was Hamas that killed the peace process, the Oslo process. And they did that by bombings and by terrorism. And Israel, in my view, has the right to protect themselves. But that's a different... I can make a video why I support Israel, but that is a different video. So I'm going to make one why I support Israel, which be posted maybe next week or something like that, if I'm pissed off enough. And yeah, I think this covers it, what I wanted to say. So please stop calling people Nazis unless they are Nazis. Okay? I could add that in Norway we have something kind of like Antifa. We have the Blitz, and they are crazy leftists, anarchists and stuff like that. But they did actually do a good job in Norway keeping the Nazi gangs out of Oslo. So I'm gonna give them that. So, because they actually had some Nazis to fight with, so they did a good job there. But the rest of their opinions are just so way off and so fucked up that, despite for this small positive thing, I just dislike everything about them. But I also feel that even Nazis has the right to free speech and free expression. The point here was that the Nazis were violent. If anyone marches and expresses their opinions, I think they should be allowed to march in peace, without having bricks thrown at them, without being attacked, because free speech is the father, mother, grandmother, and the god and the queen and the everything, mother of all things. That is important. You know, free speech is the beginning of freedom. So please let people speak. Okay? With this, I'm going to say cheers with some coffee. And I actually think I got my point across here. So until next time, stay cool. And in the description you find a link to my Patreon, and you will find a link to my channel where I do my painting. Probably there. And see you next time. Yay!